You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.
The final section of the show, we will talk a little bit about India.
Mm-hmm.
Not a lot to talk about, actually, because they only had 2 overs of play in the final match. Ross, I think when we last talked, it was 2-1 South Africa, so they did fight back to 2-2. We got a lot of grief in the comments on our YouTube section, which is always funny because we said the England Test team would have a pretty good chance of beating the India T20 11 that they're putting out. Stand by that. I've seen no evidence in the last few days that would contradict that statement. It would definitely be a competitive series between those two lineups. I also think, and this might be wrong, that it means that South Africa continue a streak of never having lost a T20 series in India. Now, I don't know how many they've played, but that's going from the Saffers. If we're doing a world power ranking, you're familiar with power rankings, guys? Yeah. Okay. Where do these two teams sit in your power rankings after those T20s? Let's start with South Africa, Max.
You're going to have to, I'm afraid you're going to have to tell me what a power ranking is.
It's where their world ranking.
Their world ranking.
Power just sounds better, doesn't it?
Okay.
World. Yeah. Where would you seed them for a World
South
Cup?
Africa? 5th or 6th, I think. They've got sort of enough about them to put the cat amongst the pigeons, but I don't think they've quite got the firepower to challenge on a regular basis, but they've got players who will win them games. So they're in that. I think they're in that sort of, that middle, probably. Yeah. 5th, 6th.
Ross, are you hot or not on South Africa?
I mean, I like them a little bit more. I think they've got some big doubts, I think, in that team. I love Temba Bavuma as a player. I'm not sure he's what you want in your T20 opening slot. I think it puts a lot of pressure on him and the rest of the team if Quinton de Kock doesn't fire. And they've also not really solved some of their issues in terms of middle order hitting. I mean, they'd used Dwayne Pretorius as a pinch hitter in that. And I mean, the guy's okay, but I'm not sure that's a long-term view. And then if you look at their bowling lineup, they've got Rabada, Norkia, Janssen, Shamsi. They've got some real firepower there. Maharaj to a lesser extent in the spin department, but they've got some good T20 skills in that place.
Didn't Maharaj take like 1 billion wickets last year?
Yeah, but I'm not sure on that specific.
Ross is a seller. Ross is a Maharaj seller.
I think he's fine, but I think in terms of my 11, Maharaj isn't getting in there. But again, they've got a rejuvenated David Miller in that side. Henrik Klaassen hit some runs in this. Rassie van der Dussen hit some runs, and they might not be the greatest T20 players, but sometimes it's about form, and that's what David Miller has at the moment. And I think having more and more confidence in that lineup probably agrees with Max's position around them being kind of 5th or 6th at the moment in the power rankings.
He didn't. He took 6 wickets last season, which is a lot less than
all of them.
Yeah. So my gut instinct on him was correct, is what we're saying.
His economy rate was 5.8, which is decent defensive bowling. But yeah, fair enough. I think they've got a couple of players sort of about, haven't they? Didn't they play Tristan Stubbs in one match, who's potentially somebody who could do a bit of slogging down the order? I think maybe their problem is that they're like one all-rounder light, and they're not the only team in world cricket to be in this situation. But I sort of feel like their bowlers who can bat can't quite bat well enough to bat at number 7, and they haven't got any batters who you'd want to bowl.
Yeah. David Miller batting at 6, you kind of want to get an over or 2 out of them, wouldn't you? That's sort of.
Well, they've got Aidan Markram, haven't they? So he didn't play because he had COVID. So they do have him, and again, he was kind of utilised relatively well by Sunrisers, if we're being honest with ourselves. But how long that lasts, I don't know. And obviously, they've got Dewald Brevis, baby AB. So we'll see.
On the other side of the ball. What is
power
it?
Rankings?
The other side.
You got that lottery.
The flip side.
The flip side, yeah. But in cricket, if you're the opposition, Anyway,
on the other side of the boundary, I don't know.
India, where's their power ranking, Max? We've still got powerhouses,
Yeah.
Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma to be shoehorned back into that team.
Do you want the power ranking of actual India or this India?
Both. This India, this India, I think at best fifth.
Yeah, actual India should
somewhere
should
behind England, the England Test team, South Africa.
actual India should be second. They should be second in the world. If
I think India should be first. I think India should be first.
I don't. Well, let's debate this. Let's debate this. First of all, the India team that you've seen today, is there anybody on the bench that should be in the team? Or
in terms, I mean, Bumrah obviously was rested. We including that
no. But what I mean is, like, so this series has been billed by Indian people as the series where they've been testing out their bench strength.
Right.
Has anybody made a breakthrough in this series that puts them in the front 11?
Karthik, maybe. I mean, they've tried something, haven't they? They tried specifically batting him in the last 5 overs, and it's kind of worked.
He kind
of worked.
Very, very good.
I like it. So they're thinking they're thinking good things. They've got some ideas going, and Dinesh Karthik has kicked on from the IPL, and he is probably the perfect person in that lineup to play that role. And with next to Hardik Pandya as well. I mean, both of those coming in at their best at like 6 and 7 with 5-6 overs to go could take a game away from another team very quickly. And I think that's it's definitely something to look at. And you also have to question whether Rishabh Pant stays.
Well, that was the question that I think that I'd have followed up with. So if you're picking Dinesh Karthik, then you probably, you could pick Rishabh Pant, but then one of them has to field. There are questions about whether either would be in the team without doing that dual role, I think. India is so weird here because we're having a conversation, and I think we probably all agree that the 11 that they'll line up with at the World Cup is quite far from their actual best 11. Assuming that they play their stars, i.e. not their best 11, what are we expecting to see here? KL Rahul and Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli at 3, Rishabh Pant at 4.
I think they'll play Sky.
Pandya 5.
Yeah. Dinesh Karthik at 6.
I think Max
they're going
to
try and do that.
I think they'll play Sky.
They have to play Sky.
Sky. Yeah, so Sky in that middle order. It's a jumble player.
So there's your top 6 then. So you've got KL Rahul, Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli, Pant at 4. You've then got Surya Kumar Yadav at 5, Pandya at 6, Karthik at 7.
Or Jadeja at 7, I think.
Okay, 7 and 8 is Jadeja and Karthik.
Okay. But then Pandya has to bowl 4 overs. So this is where I think...
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think India will go into any match in that situation.
Yeah, then you've got... Okay, so you're not playing Karthik, so then you're playing Harshal Patel. You've got Yuzi Chahal, which is spinner.
Yeah.
And then you've got Bhuvi and Bumrah.
Yeah, I like the bowling. I like the bowling a lot in that team. I think that's a really, really good bowling lineup. And I think probably they're right with most of those picks. People have been throwing around Shami's name. I would much rather have Bhuvi over him.
Yeah.
If Bhuvi breaks down, you can have that conversation. And he might. So you probably do want Shami sort of knocking around a trading facility somewhere in Adelaide. But you don't. I think Bhuvi's a much better bowler.
That batting lineup could be so bit improved. I think you're completely right, Jack. That lineup.
I think you could take Sharma out and bring Prithvi Shaw in. I think you could take Kohli out, Surya Kumar Yadav bats at 3, and then Sanju Samson or Rahul Tripathi even in your top 4 or 5. Sanju a bit more of a risk, I think.
Yeah, I think Sanju Samson should be in this lineup. He's a selfless player. He's proven he can do it.
And then you have a reasonably tricky call. I think I'm not sure which way I go. You have a bit of a tricky call around whether you go for Dinesh Karthik, maybe balances your team slightly better, or whether you go for Rishabh Pant, maybe a slightly better player. And you also have an interesting situation whereby Pant or or Sampson will have to field. I think I've seen them without gloves, but it doesn't feel right in my head.
Kale
I feel like Sanju Sampson would do a better job without the gloves than Rishabh Pant.
What's your evidence for this?
Looking at them both.
So, but what we're saying there,
I don't think that'll happen. I don't think that'll happen, and I think the BC side will hide behind the yo-yo test. They'll be like, Prithvi Shaw wasn't fit enough. Sanju Sampson wasn't fit enough.
Always pick Dhoni.
But when it is an absolute joke, they're going to pick a less good player for a World Cup because they're famous, and for that reason they invented a fitness test.
You know what the worst bit about that is going to be as well? They'll bloody win it.
Well, they might. I mean, like they're still good players,
but they're not the optimal players.
Yeah,
it's not like as well that the rest of the world has got their T20 11s perfectly sorted out. That World Cup was pretty shonky T20 cricket played by almost everyone there. Like Australia had Steve Smith bouncing up and down like a rabbit, didn't he? Like they had no idea why he was in the team. They could not explain why they were picking Steve Smith. And they won the tournament.
Matt Wade, best wicketkeeper in the world in T20 cricket. IPL champ and world champ.
New Zealand, they decided to open with Daryl Mitchell, and it sort of worked. But should it have? I don't know. England were carrying Owen Morgan and were like rolling with the worst death bowling lineup you could possibly imagine, that refused to accept that any of the evidence from the last 3 years that maybe Chris Jordan shouldn't be bowling it, and no, we're going to use him, and oh no, it's gone wrong again.
Well, the eggs in the Tamil Mills basket all cracked, didn't they? That was part of the issue.
West Indies, they might as well have not bothered. They may as well have just had a party.
I forgot about the West Indies. I forgot about what they did.
Ravi Rampal. There's no reason why the India team that they'll send and play with that bowling couldn't beat a bunch of these jokers. But I think if every other team did sort themselves out, not going to happen, then India would be in a situation where they had some players that weren't very good. And if India want to go into the World Cup with as favourites, which they could be, with a 30% chance of winning the tournament, say up there with England, then they probably do want to play their best 11. I would say instead of being a team that could win it if things go well.
Logic dictates
nobody wants to play against.
Logic dictates playing your best team is usually the best strategy. But
so let's just recap on our 11 there. So we've got Prithvi Shaw and KL Rahul opening up.
That's what I'd have.
So we've got Sky at 3. We've got Sanju Sampson at 4. Hardik Pandya at 5. You then got Pant or Karthik.
I think you've got to play. You think you've got to play Pant in that lineup?
Yeah, you got to play Pant in that lineup
because he's left-handed.
Okay.
Oh, wow!
You're getting a bit right-hander heavy.
Yeah, and then you got and then you got Jadeja in there.
Or Axar. Could be Axar instead.
Why would it be Axar instead?
Because that's the kind of thing they might do.
Fair enough. It is.
Shardul Thakur, he's not playing. Get in.
I temporarily forgot that we are what we're talking about. It's maybe you do have to play Pant. It's not like Pant's a bad player as well.
No.
I'll tell you what. Let's get people. If you have an opinion on what you think the India 11 should be for the T20,
we didn't finish ours, did we? We have to play Pant. Okay, so we've got Pant in. Then we've got Hardik.
Yeah. So
then we've got
6.
Then we've got Jadeja.
Yeah. Then you've got Harshal Patel.
Yeah,
that is your 8. I think that's a good 8. I think Harshal Patel.
So it's an okay 8.
And then you got
an amazing 8.
It's fine. And then you got Bhuvi 9, Yuzi Chahal, and Bumrah 10 and 11.
Have we missed a player?
Can we not go to 11?
Can we pick someone else?
Prithvi Shaw, KL Rahul, Sky, Pant, Pandya.
Yeah. We missed Sampson.
You missed Sampson.
Sampson. Yeah,
that's it. You bump them all down one. Yeah. I think that'd be a pretty good lineup. I'd like to see it happen. It won't.
Well, there we go.
End of the show.
Thank you ever so much for listening. We are wrapping up now. So if you remember to like and subscribe to this video if you like it, go onto Spotify or iTunes and give us a rating. Give us a 5-star rating. Go on and leave a comment if you like.
Patreon.com/The Cricket Pod. Bye-bye.
Bye.
You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.